Here is an SMC 18-inch oscillating pedestal fan. This is the SMC SR-18 stand fan. It's rated for 0.7 amps and it's dated March of 1998. And according to the UL tag, it's a table fan. So there's definitely some discrepancies here. And discrepancies will be a common theme in this video. This is an absolutely massive fan. The plate is kind of cool. It's like an identical enlarged replica of the 12-inch model that I grew up with that my grandfather had, the TH-12. I grew up around a lot of these fans. My grandfather had the, it's upstairs right now in the bedroom, the TH-12. And then I remember seeing some of these in school. I remember seeing the stand version of the TH-12 in school. I remember seeing another oscillating variant, which is actually right over here. I remember seeing that one in school. Trying to think if there was any others, but I have a very, very early memory, and this probably goes back to the, well, it would have to go back to the very late 90s or early 2000s, but based off of the deduction of my age and the fan's age, there was a period of time where I used to go to one of my grandparents' neighbor's house for the day or evening or whatever the context was, and I guess my mother was working, or I have no recollection of what the context was, but I just remember I used to go over there sometimes. And there was one day, and I don't have many memories of that house. I know where the house is. I really don't remember what it looked like inside. I vaguely remember what the lady looked like, but I just remember this one blip in time. I was over there sitting on the couch, and I don't know if it was just particularly hot out or if she knew I liked fans, but she had two SMC pedestal fans, and I remember she directed both of them. She set them up right next to each other and directed both of them right at the couch where I was sitting, and I just thought it was the best thing ever. And I remember at the time thinking that those fans were just gigantic fans. And so fast forward 25 years, I come across a handful of the 16-inch oscillating pedestal fans from SMC at the OK Will, and I thought that those were the fans. But they didn't have that like massive appearance to them that I remembered. But I just kind of wrote it off because a lot of times when you see something when you're younger and then you see it again when you're older, it doesn't seem as big anymore. But then I saw this one, and it has that massive effect. I think that this was the fan, although I'm pretty sure that the one she had a buttons control. I don't think it was this exact model. There are two 18-inch models that SMC produced. There is this one, the SR-18, and there was another model which I don't remember what the numbers was. Maybe it's SF-16. And that one I think had button controls. I'm not certain, that could be incorrect. Anyways, here it is. SR-18 pedestal fan. Other than the Lasco, what is it? I have no idea what the numbers are. Those Lasco pedal blade fans that you can buy today on the pedestal. This is probably the largest pedestal fan that exists. Oh no, actually there was also the SMC or Hampton Bay branded one that had the 5 white blades that were really skinny. That one existed too. I remember that one. Regardless, this one is one of the infamous recalled models. There was two different models affected by the SMC recall. It was this one, the SR-18, and there was two. The letters were different. It was something something 18 as well. And that recall, I'm pretty sure I made a video dedicated to talking about that recall. Oh gosh, I have been attacked by the common cold, so we're having some difficulty here today. Anyways, I think we did a video talking about that recall, and that recall, like the LASCO fan recall, there's a lot of ambiguity around it. The wording is very vague. The official recall says something like, the fan's oscillation motion can cause the wires to short, something like that. And also, like the LASCO recall, there's a third party that gets involved and outputs a video. So there's pictures, and I don't recall if the pictures are from the actual government recall organization or if the pictures are from something else. But there's pictures that show, you can search this on Google and probably find what I'm talking about. There's pictures that show a failed fan in a mailroom. The context was this fan was used in a mailroom and it just randomly combusted one day. And the picture shows the fan head in the background on the floor, and then the control box all burnt up. And so it would seem like the fault is in the control box somewhere as opposed to in the motor itself. Now then you have this third party video that comes into play, and there's this person from a third party company or whatever taking the fan apart, and it shows the fan operating. This is an old video. It shows the fan operating with the motor housing removed, and the guy says that there's a metal loop that the wire feeds through on the back of the motor, and allegedly the metal loop wears down the insulation on the wires over time, and that's what causes the unit to short out and catch on fire. Now that's a logical explanation, logical assumption. The problem is, he also says something along the lines of, that hoop was put in place to fix the recall. And that doesn't make any sense, because how could that fix the recall if that was the initial, it doesn't make any sense. And what also doesn't make sense is that same design is seen on a whole bunch of SMC fans, including those made very recently under the Medea brand, and it's still like that. So I don't quite understand what the hazard is with these fans, and we're going to have to take this one apart much, like all the way down and check it out as a whole to see if I can figure out what's electrically unsound. I popped off the back of the switch housing cover to see if there was anything weird inside there, and it's as normal and basic as you could possibly expect. It's a switch with wires that go up to the top of the motor, and there's really nothing else in there. So I don't understand what would catch on fire in there. There's a support at the top that holds the wire, so the switch is not going to encounter any of the strain from the fan moving back and forth. I really don't see what would be dangerous. Likewise with the LASCO recall, it's such a small number of fans. I think that the official number on the government website said 36 out of 2.2 million. That ends up being something like 0.00001% of the fans having this problem. Is that really enough to say that there's a design flaw? Couldn't that just be chalked up to there is a defect in certain materials or part of the manufacturing process? I don't know. I just feel like with these recalls that some products get blown out of proportion and some don't. In the last 20 years I've been using appliances around the house. I can think of a handful of things that failed very dangerously, and there was no recall issued. And then Likewise, you have something like this, which we've been using for years, not this particular model, but we've been using these fans for years, nothing's ever happened. I don't know. I just find it very odd. Is this a dangerous product? I don't know. I wouldn't use it unattended. I wouldn't use any oscillating fan unattended, because you have wires flexing consistently, which is asking for trouble, and then you have everything contained in potentially flammable plastic. You have a motor in plastic, a switch in plastic. If anything goes wrong with either of those components, potentially flammable plastic is not going to contain it. And that's one of the reasons why everything that's electrical should be contained in metal, including outlet boxes and junction boxes and stuff like that in the walls. But that's a whole different story. So we have this here now, and it's a pretty cool fan. I really think that this 18-inch model was the one that I remember, not the 16. We'll probably never know for sure. But this has that massive effect to it that I remember. So I really think that this is probably it. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on. The guard is on upside down and the handle's on the bottom. This one, I don't know what the heck happened here, but the cord looks like it's been, I don't know what happened. The cord is all messed up. It's got several bare spots. They're on the common side, so it's not really a super hazard, but that should probably be replaced. We're going to be testing at 118.7 the volts. We'll go over to the amps. I'm going to turn the oscillations off, and we'll begin with setting number 1. It's very powerful. It moves a tremendous amount of air, and the air seems to carry very well. And it's pretty quiet. Late 90s era stuff was definitely starting to get cheaper. Much better quality than the stuff we have today, but not as good as 70s, 80s, etc. This is exactly what I would expect from a 90s product, maybe even a little bit better. This really works quite well. So that is 0.57 amps, 0.56 the amps, 68.2 the watts, with a power factor of 0.99, teetering between 0.99 and 1. Now it's a power factor of 1 on the nose. So the capacitor is definitely still good, and it seems like the motors match pretty well to the capacitor. Now there is also some discrepancies with the 16-inch model, and maybe we can argue that those are potentially dangerous as well. Some people say that, particularly when it comes to the tabletop oscillating model, that the 16-inch fans use the same motor as the 12-inch, but with a higher capacitor value. Now I have a couple of the tabletop ones, and I don't recall if there's a variance between the two, but I do recall with the pedestal model, the 16-inch pedestal model, there is a substantial variance in performance. One of them performs very well, it's quite powerful, and then the other one seems to be extremely underpowered. I could see it being the 12-inch model's motor with a higher capacitor. This one, I haven't looked inside yet, but this certainly performs like it has the right size motor. This is very strong. And that's using a lot of power too. That's more power than the 16-inch by far. Okay, let's go up to the medium. That's 0.62 the amps, 73.9 the watts, with a power factor of 0.99. And part of me is just waiting for this to randomly combust into flames, though I really don't think so that it's going to do that. I can feel air moving all around the room. That's very strong. This is going to be a great fan for the living room. It's in very good balance too, almost perfect. Yeah, it is. It's like absolutely perfect balance. It really seems like it's a pretty well-made product. Very curious to take a look inside the motor housing. Alright, let's go to the high and see if it catches on fire. Pretty good range and speeds. That's 0.73 the amps, 72 the amps, 83.8 the watts, with a power factor of 0.96. So it's pretty much right at what it's rated for, which is 0.7. It actually says 0.70, which is the extra zero is inconsequential. But 0.0 versus 0.73, that's very reasonable. And this is strong, and this is really whipping the air around. This is one of those models that definitely competes with even the more respectable 20-inch plastic box fans. And all things considered, for the air being moved, it's very quiet. That's very strong. Quite powerful. It kind of sounds like the TH-12, which is kind of neat. Wow, I can feel air recirculating all around the room. This moves a tremendous amount of air. I can't believe how well balanced it is. That's pretty rare to find a plastic blade set in perfect balance. This is running so smooth. I really can't feel even the slightest vibration on high. It's just absolutely perfect balance, which is how it should be. Alright, let's try the dangerous oscillations. It's got a very good range and speeds too. A lot of times these SMC fans have excellent spin down because they use steel bearings. Wow, that's still, I have not serviced this yet. I'm searching on the computer or something here. I want to see if I can find I recall a video of a news article that showed pictures of one of the fans having actually caught fire in a bedroom. I'm not seeing that particular video. That was an old video, so it might not be around anymore. It looks like SP-18 is the other model number. The third-party individual that that talked about the hoop is allegedly DPI LLC, whatever that is. And that video was posted in 2009, at least on here. I don't know if the original aired earlier than that. It's in 4x3, so I feel like it might have aired earlier than that. He's talking about the hoop again. But I feel like this model that he's showing here is not the right model, because that one has buttons, so that's not this one. And then he showed that the housing is flammable, and that probably is true. I don't doubt that at all. Oh, it's the same video. This is the video I was thinking of.
Laboratory, the independent product
Why
safety
is she
testing
shouting?
organization,
Holy
will issue a
mackerel.
public notice warning consumers about some brands of oscillating fans. The warning comes as a direct result of our ongoing probe into fans that catch fire. Bibi Emmerman is here with more on what she's uncovered. Bibi?
Well, Christy, fans are not just supposed to spontaneously burst into flame. Even so, our ongoing investigation shows it's happening more and more. Last summer, we uncovered a whole slew of fires linked to one popular brand of oscillating fan. Now we've confirmed even more fires and more reasons why your family could be in danger right now.
It was the middle of the night and the smoke alarm went off.
Kathy Williams still has nightmares about the fire that could have destroyed her home. It started in her son Ross's bedroom.
We woke up and found our house was filled with smoke.
Daughter Kelly's room is right across the hall.
And I looked in here and there was a big flame just right here.
Kelly ran down the hall to wake her parents.
We realized that my son's bedroom was on fire, and we had a pedestal fan in the room, and it had no...
Okay, see this? It looks like, I mean, of course the plastic could have traveled down and it moved the flame, but it looks like it starts here and then it goes up, or it could have started there and gone down. I don't know.
Melted and caused flames in the room. Thank goodness my son was spending the night at a friend's house.
We could have been killed.
This is all that's left of the fan that caught fire in the Williams home. It was made in China under the brand name SMC, but it's not the
Now, see that whole the control thing looks pretty bad there.
only one. Over the past year, we've uncovered 20 other fires linked to SMC oscillating fans, some confirmed in government reports, including this one in Las Vegas that destroyed a house. Here at Diversified Product Inspections in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, analysts have examined 5 SMC fans that caught fire.
It feeds on underneath here.
CEO John Van Zyl says the problem is in the power cord.
the black line on it, you can see it slides up and down.
What is the problem with that?
That's where the chafing is occurring.
Van Zyl says over time, all that chafing and stretching of the power cord during oscillation causes tears in the insulation.
If you have a tiny little nick and it comes in contact with that metal fan motor housing, you're going to get what they call an electrical arc. And that's a very hot fire. That temperature will set these plastic components or this cover on fire.
How likely is that to happen? Just watch. Van Zyl cuts a small piece off this fan's plastic cover, then exposes it for a few seconds to a relatively cool flame. Look how quickly it ignites, and within seconds starts dripping molten plastic.
You'll start to get a firestorm, so if you think of the whole thing being on fire, you would have these flames soon would reach the floors, they get bigger and would eventually ignite the carpet.
Diversified Product Inspections is the third forensic laboratory to identify this design defect in SMC fans. The other two, InterScience in Florida and Volmer Gray in California, primarily examined fans made prior to 1999. Since then, though, the manufacturer has added a safety feature, a metal hoop like this, which the company tells us tightens the power cord and prevents it from moving freely during oscillation. But Van Zyl says his investigation shows the hoop may not alleviate the danger.
Well, so then what was the original danger then? If that hoop is the problem, which I agree with what he's saying, it is a potential problem. If that is the issue, then what was the issue before?
It also now pinches between the fan motor body. So now you got two potential failure sources instead of one.
So is this a dangerous product?
Yes, I believe it is. I virtually would take the fan out and throw it in the dumpster.
The manufacturer in China says it discontinued this kind of fan in 2001, but as our undercover camera reveals, SMC fans are still for sale, at least in this major home improvement store. These are wall-mounted models, not pedestal models, but when DPI took one of the fans apart, it discovered the same basic wiring design and components made of the same type of flammable plastic.
Do you want to take next year, Jazz?
As for the Williams family, they were lucky. The SMC fan that caught fire in their house only caused about $5,000 worth of damage. Other victims we've talked to had it much worse.
It's everywhere up here.
It took $27,000 to repair Jason Tenzer's house. Ray and Diane Quintero's home had $110,000 worth of damage.
You know, the thought that there might be fans out there.
So see, this one is showing that the problem looks like it's in the controls. Where's the sound?
Up here.
It took $27,000 to repair Jason Tenzer's house. Ray and Diane Quintero's home had $110,000 worth of damage.
You know, the thought that there might be fans out there, that somebody else might go through this, that the fire might even be worse next time and cause more damage or a death, that's frightening.
A spokesman for SMC tells us since our original story last summer, the company has made several safety improvements to its fans, including using non-flammable plastic in the components. The company also confirms that it has settled 21 claims by consumers whose fans have caught fire and says there are currently 4 lawsuits pending. Tomorrow's UL announcement that these fans pose a safety risk could trigger a recall, but that decision must come from the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Now, the CPSC has asked for our data and does confirm that it has an investigation of SMC fans underway. However, the agency will not reveal when its investigation is likely to conclude or what action, if any, will be taken. Back to you.
Meantime, time to check the fans you have at home. Thanks, BB. And to get
Now there's one other thing we'll look at. There was some pictures. See, these pictures, these are very low resolution, but in this picture, which is kind of confusing to me, it looks like the motor is totally fine. There doesn't appear to be any burning or anything on the motor itself. And then this is the control area. So I guess this picture is the outlier then, because this just doesn't make any sense compared to these other videos. Well, anyways, that's that. So here it is. Is it going to catch on fire? I don't know. If it's not oscillating, I really can't fathom that it would. But it will be used attended only, as I would say for any oscillating fan, it really should be attended use only.